Now, what is yield curve? Well, I'll give you some example of yield curve. Say, this is an example of a yield curve here. So, normal yield curve is always like this, positive slope here. This is the blue one here. That is normal yield curve. Now, what does it mean? That means here is the interest rate, the short-term interest rate now here. Here, it's not the long-term interest rate. This is a short-term interest rate 10 years from now. If this is 10, okay? Let's assume this is 10, this is now, okay? So this is in short-term interest rate now, and this is short-term interest rate 10 years from now. That is what matters in bond market. So it's not so much about long-term interest rate, but the future short-term interest rate. Okay. Now, why this is normal? Why this is called normal? Because if an economy is in a normal pattern, usually in the future, the economy is growing, and when the economy is growing, remember last week, what happened if GDP growth? Price will go up. And if price will go up, usually the interest rate will also go up. That is a normal economy. And because that is the normal economy, then market will think the normal yield curve is also positive here. That means market will think if now the interest rate is here, the short-term interest rate, 10 years from now, the short-term interest rate will be here. Why? Because 10 years from now, the Indonesian economy will grow faster, and as a result, inflationary pressure will be there. As a result, interest rate will be higher. Is that clear? This is basically perhaps the most important part of the bonds market for you to understand here. Now, I can reverse the story here. Let's look at the inverted yield curve, the yellow color here. So what does it mean? This means the current short-term interest rate is here, but the market expects the future 10 years from now, the short-term interest rate will be here. What does it mean? That means market expect that Indonesian economy will be slowing down in the future in such that Bank Indonesia 10 years from now will have to lower the interest rate so that in the future the short-term interest rate will be lower than the short-term interest rate now. And that's why the yield curve is negative slope. And that's why they call it inverted yield curve. Now, from this explanation, market will use yield curve as one of, not the only one, but one of the sort of signals what happened with the economy in the future. Take for example, suppose market believe that the economy will be in a recession. Which yield curve do you think is going to happen? The normal or the inverted? Of course the inverted. Because if it is recession, market knows that Bank Indonesia will lower the interest rate. And vice versa. If market believe the Indonesian economy will be booming in the future, then this is the yield curve. Now you understand why frequently bond market players, so those who are in the bonds market every day, they are really paying attention on the yield curve. Because yield curve is almost like giving you early signal about what happened with the health of the economy in the future, in the coming years. Okay? Any question so far?
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So you say that if the market can predict the economy is in recession, so the central bank will lower the interest rate. So
Yeah.
so how do markets actually predict that there will be an incoming recession, so that which causes the yield curve to be inverted in the first place? So because I am still kind of confused on that one, especially what happened what happened last year when USA is experiencing inverted yield curve. So yeah.
Well, I mean, very simple. There are two types of explanation. The first is the expose explanation. Expose means after you see the yield curve inverted, like what you just said last year, you read in the US, all of a sudden the yield curve inverted. That's expose, right? Because yield curve is the outcome or the product of what market thinks, okay? So the explanation there is clear. That means last year, market believes that the US economy will be slowing down, or even some of them even believe that there will be recession. That's quite easy, expose. What is difficult is the second part of your question, and that is the ex ante. I mean, how do market have the expectation? Because your question is very general actually. How do market expect what economy 2, 3, 5 years from now? Well, the answer is multiple reasons. You should ask the market players. What do they think? Why they think Indonesian economy will be slowing down, or why the Indonesian economy will be, getting stronger in the future? I'm sure they think about so many factors, right? So that is in the mind of the market players. That's the ex ante. That is the difficult part. The expose is quite easy, like what we just said. When you saw last year in the U.S., the yield curve all of a sudden inverted. Then we know exactly. Oh, then market at that time believed that the U.S. economy will be slowing down. Is that clear?
Oh, okay, sir. Thank you so much for the answer.
Yeah. Mhm. Any other question before we proceed?
No questions, sir. Can carry on.
Okay, no question. So let's continue. So what do you think the yield curve in Indonesia now? Well, first of all, before we talk about the yield curve, what do you think about the yield of the Indonesian bond? By the way, when we talk about bonds market, in general, there are two types, corporate bonds and government bonds. But when we talk about bonds market in Indonesia, essentially we talk about government bonds because the corporate bond is very small. Okay, the biggest bond in Indonesia bonds market is government bond. So let me go back to my question. What do you think is the yield in the government bonds in Indonesia now? Is it high, low, or what? Now, of course, high and low is relative, right? Compared to what? Well, let's do compare with other countries. Don't compare with, countries that are very different than our. Let's say, don't compare with the US or Europe. Compare with the neighboring countries. Let's say Malaysia or the Philippines. Okay. What do you think the yield curve in Indonesian government? Is it higher or lower? So none of you are following the market, eh?
Kalau di compare Filipina, yield kita lebih tinggi. Di compare dengan mana? Filipina sama Malaysia. Lebih tinggi mana yieldnya? Bond kita atau bond mereka? Compare ke Malaysia. Ya, compare ke
Because Mahathir stepped down. So you're implying that the political risk in Indonesia is high?
until
Well, maybe you're right. I don't know because I don't live in Indonesia. So explain to me. I want to learn. Explain to me what is the political risk now in Indonesia? Why it's higher than in Malaysia?
just I just talk until recent events regarding the prime minister. I think Indonesia had the general election. Yeah. Indonesia has the general election, and in case that if there's a change in presidency, there will be a potential change in the government policies. So that is a degree of uncertainty. So I just thought that by increasing the
When was the election, by the way? When was the election?
2019. 2019.
Yeah, but I thought it was early month, right? Is it June or July?
Oh, yes. Yeah, it was relatively at the middle of the year. April.
Middle of the year. Okay, so by the end of last year, that political risk will be gone, right? Because it's stable, correct? Maybe I missed something. I don't know, because you need to teach me about this because you live in Indonesia. So what is the risk in Indonesia now?
Oh,
We strive to be
Sir, I think the recent political issues is regarding the omnibus law, if that makes sense.
Oh.
Yes. If I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so the first speaker said it's the election, but the election was early last year, right?
Yes.
And then now you talk about omnibus law, which is only the last month, right?
I think it's still
Correct.
relevant until now. I mean, it's still.
Yeah, okay. So last month and it's still going on, right?
Yes.
My point is this. The yield of Indonesian government bonds is higher than in Malaysia for more than 10 years already. So you cannot use the argument, because there's an election, because the election is only happening last year. Or you cannot even use, because of omnibus law, because omnibus law is still going on, as you said yourself. The yield in Indonesia has been notoriously higher than most of neighboring countries. By the way, I have the chart here. Hold on. Let me move the chart if I can do it here so that you can see. Here. Can you see here? Okay, can someone hold the microphone and tell me so that I know if I'm interacting with you? Can you all see this one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, look at Indonesia. Indonesia is here. The highest. Higher than the Philippines, this is Philippines. Higher than Malaysia, this is Malaysia. Higher than Vietnam, this is Vietnam. Higher than Thailand here. Okay? And by the way, this position has been like this for 10 years. Not just last year, not just recently. This is already 10 years from now.
Sir, can I answer your question? Maybe
Absolutely.
it's more about the credit risk assessment. I mean the credit rating. Indonesia has lower credit rating, which is in the BBB level, where Malaysia credit rating is A minus, and Philippines credit rating is BBB plus.
Yeah, that is a good answer, but it's not the only factor because I think it was last year that Indonesian credit rating has been upgraded. If I'm not taken by Moody's, I think either Moody's or S&P, I forgot, but has been upgraded, and yet the yield continue to be high.